Hello and welcome to the Down Under Visa Philippines to Australia podcast series. I'm your host, Jeff Harvey, registered migration agent with Down Under Visa, the premier Australian migration agents in Manila, Philippines, specialising in visas for Australian Filipina couples. We hope you enjoy this podcast and hope it proves useful to you. Please feel free to share this with your partner and with any of your interested friends. Let's get started. Okay, today's podcast comes from the blog article entitled Filipino Kids and Starting School in Australia. Now, we have a lot of applicants who meet single mums in the Philippines, so we end up with kids being in the picture. Some of you are adamant you don't want to bring them, which, that's your choice. Others want to bring them or are undecided, and the issue of school and changing schools from the Philippines to Australia comes up. So, look, this is a very important topic for anybody where kids are in the picture. Okay. Now, there is a huge difference between how the school system in the Philippines works compared to the Australian school system, and it can cause headaches and unnecessary stress when a visa applicant from the Philippines has a dependent child or children that they wish to bring to Australia on a partner visa. Now, the stress is caused by trying to match an Australian visa grant to the fairly inflexible school system in the Philippines. Now, your partner visa application from Philippines to Australia, your whole future depends on it. As I always say, visas are grants, they're not rights. So you need to work around what the department decide and not the other way around. As I will explain, surprisingly, the actual timing of changing schools actually doesn't matter at all. Now, the Filipino school system. A bit of an explanation for the benefit of Australians who don't know how it works and probably can't work out what the fuss is about. It's very, very, very different the way schools work in Australia and how schools work in the Philippines. Now, the Philippine school year ends sometime in March and the new year starts sometime in June. Every school, believe it or not, has slightly different dates, but it's close enough. It gives you an idea. It's very different to the Australian school system. The kids in the Philippines have a long summer vacation and a few short breaks in the rest of the year. Quite different to Australia, where the school finishes before Christmas and there's a 6-week Christmas holidays. Quite different. It follows the American system, basically. Now, if they transfer to another school in the Philippines, in the Philippines, if the student doesn't finish that school year, they repeat the whole school year. Now, they need to have documents from the previous school showing their level of attainment. They need a certificate of good moral character, would you believe? They need to sit an entrance examination, and they will need to pay that entire semester's fees, even if they just enrolled in the last month of the year. And this is a big issue and expense to the average Filipino, so therefore it's something that you will expect that type of thing to be sitting on your lady's mind. So, therefore, your Filipino lady will often be fairly emphatic that she wants the child to complete the school year, and ideally they want to migrate sometime in April to give enough time to settle in and re-enroll in the new good school in Australia. And we get requests all the time if we can time the visa grant for around the summer vacation, or we get those who decide to bring the child later, all because of school year timing. As I've explained many times before, the department simply don't work that way. A visa is a grant, it's not a right, and it's certainly not it's not like popping around to the local visa shop and saying, right, I'll have that partner visa there, and if you can deliver it on this particular date, Doesn't work that way. They will grant it at a particular time, and that's all there is about it, and they will set a date by which the applicant must enter Australia, and that's it. And you have to work around that. As I said before, this is your whole life ahead of you, and it's not, you can't put it secondary to fitting in with school years. That's the point. Starting school in Australia. My daughter Rami, this was back when she was 9, she's now 21 and sitting across the office from me, typing furiously actually. She arrived in Australia when she was 9 years old, and it was at the end of November. Now we went to the local public school to sort out enrolment so she could start after the Australian Christmas school holidays, or at least that's what we thought would be a logical thing to do. Now we talked to the principal about our plan, and no, definitely not, she said. He said that she would worry all over the holidays, so better to get her started immediately. And yes, most certainly she would have done that, so it was a very, very good idea, very thoughtful. Sent her downstairs, organised a couple of uniforms from the ladies downstairs who had the uniform shop in the tuck shop area there. Next day took her to school. She worried that she wouldn't be able to sing the Australian national anthem quite seriously. That was the question. Will we be singing the Philippines national anthem? No. Oh, but I don't know the Australian national anthem. Don't worry about it. Look, there were 3 little girls anxiously waiting at the school gate when we arrived, and they whisked her away somewhere before we could even get out of the car properly. Oh well, so she was the star because she was new, made instant best friends, and they put her into the same grade that she had been in, and she was absolutely beaming when we picked her up and couldn't stop talking about everything that happened. Now, after the school holidays, she went straight into the next grade. Now, even though in Philippines she hadn't officially grade 4. She hadn't officially finished grade 4 at that particular time. Well, they put her straight into grade 5 because, they just assessed her as being ready. That's what they will do. They will assess the child at that particular point, and they'll put them where they know that they can cope quite well. Now, look, I can't remember them asking for a lot of paperwork from us at the time. Whatever it was, we had whatever was necessary with us. And the emphasis was on getting a child into school with a minimum of fuss and stress, especially for the child. And for us and for her, it worked really, really well. And look, I hope I'm getting my point across here. I get emails all the time. We've decided that we, want her to finish elementary school, we wanted to finish high school, or we wanted to see out the school year, and, you mean we can't guarantee it's going to be granted in April? Well, then, because of this, we're going to leave her in the Philippines and wait and get a dependent child visa, so you end up with a child being away from mum for 18 months, maybe 2 years, being apart from her mother because of worrying about it fitting in with enrolments and what have you. And I pull my hair out sometimes because I know it's not an issue, and I will explain it's not an issue, but I still get, no, we've decided to do it. No, we won't do it. We'll wait, and we won't, because she's still worried about what about this, what about that. Again, it is really not necessary, as we explained. We turned up there, had a bit of a chat, explained what had happened. Principal met her, said, "Oh goodness me, you don't want her worrying," and could probably tell that she was a child who worried too much about every little thing. And that was it. She was in school the next day. It was as simple as that, and it was not an issue. And for you, it will not be an issue either. So if you can think from the point of view of what is the best thing for a child. Now, I know the best thing for my daughter at that time was for her to be with her mum and to be with her new father, to be in a new family, to be in a family with a mum and dad, which she'd never had before in her life. Now, I think that was a lot more important than whether that fitted in with finishing a school year or not. As far as repeating years or what have you. Look, if your child is not ready for the next year, they will make them repeat. But it's not. They won't make a big deal of it. It's not a social stigma here in Australia. If that was the case, well, I mean, they can do that. They can say, "Oh, look, we'll put her in grade 4 for a bit. Then we'll see how she goes. If she does well, we put her back up to grade 5." That's how things work in Australia. They're a bit more informed and certainly far more child-friendly and parent-friendly. So, again, please don't stress about it. Please look at the visa, so you as a couple can be together, and look at what's best for the child. Forget about the school, for goodness sakes. Okay? Now, what should you do? Now, I'm not going to give a comprehensive guide to enrolling Filipino kids in Australian schools. That's not my area of expertise. We don't keep up with that, so I'm not going to tell you step by step. Same as I can't tell you how to get a tax file number or a driver's license or advise on dealing with Centrelink. There's not our area, and we don't have the resources to keep up to date with things like that. What I will tell you now, what I tell every client who asks about these things: go to the school where you plan to enrol the child. Make an appointment to talk to the principal and ask them what you need. Now, you will most likely need birth certificate, passport, visa grant letter, or some information about what type of visa the child will be holding when the visa is granted. Now, probably a Form 137E or Form 137A from the school in the Philippines. Now, for those who don't know, those are the permanent school records which show level of attainment and that they were enrolled in this particular school, etc. So Form 137E, that's from the elementary school. Form 137A is a continuation for high school if the child is at a high school age. Now, probably some sort of proof of immunisation. Again, I am no expert on that, so for goodness sakes, talk to the school about it. And they will probably need something showing where you reside, some sort of, rates notice or something showing where your permanent address is. Again, ask the school what you need. Every state and territory in Australia has its own education department, and private schools have their own rules too. You will generally find that the private schools are often a bit more flexible about these things. I have heard that some states have you can apply for a waiver of school fees under certain circumstances, but again, talk to them. You'll find them certainly a lot more approachable than the school system in the Philippines. I used to think schools and teachers in Australia were a fairly inflexible lot, but they don't even come close to what they're like in the Philippines. They're extremely inflexible, and they're a law unto themselves. But you will find your average school in Australia. Well, again, the needs of the child come first. They don't put kids in difficult positions. They don't embarrass kids. They don't announce, "Oh, this child cannot." They can't do their exams because their parents haven't paid the fees this month or anything. That type of thing doesn't happen. So you'll find them very approachable. Yeah, again, discuss fees with them. Big difference between visas. Big difference between states. So yes, do that. So, does it matter what time of year you enrol in an Australian school? Well, obviously you don't try to enrol in the middle of the Christmas holidays or something, but as long as the school year is still happening, you'll find them pretty accommodating. So, any issue with not finishing the school year? No, definitely not. So they will assess the child, as I said. They sit them down. They give them some. Examination, but not really examinations. They get them doing a bit of schoolwork, basically, where they can assess at what level they are at. So, and what they will do is they'll put them then into the grade where they feel they'll do best. Now, schools in the Philippines they differ in academic standards. Public schools, private schools, even some of the private schools can have fairly woefully low standards. Overcrowding and underfunded public schools will produce undereducated kids. Now, if they feel the child will struggle, they will probably put them down a grade. The very smart kids, they may even go up a grade. But again, there's no social stigma about that. They don't announce it, and you're not going to have all the kids laughing at them. Doesn't work like that here. So, should you try to aim to match the visa to match the school year? Even if I thought it mattered, which it doesn't, I would have to say no, because you simply can't do it. Visas are grants, and the department operates to its own timetable. The visa application is processed when it's finished processing, and that's it. Now, if it's quick, then it's quick. If it's slow, then it's slow. If its timing matches the school years, then all fine. But neither you or I have any control over this whatsoever, so please don't ask me to organise or arrange a visa around a particular time. So if the visa is granted in June or July, then accept that the child will not finish that particular school year in the Philippines and will start in the middle of an Australian school year. And most importantly, it doesn't make any difference at all. It is of no significance. So, in summary, forget about school years. It's meaningless in Australia because they will adjust. The child will fit in and will pick up where he or she left off. And they will absolutely thrive in an Australian school. They'll thrive in Australia, full stop. They'll be happier, they'll be healthier, they'll grow faster, they'll put on weight, they'll be healthy, happy kids. Their English will improve quickly. You find the teachers very kind and patient. They're shorter school days. They don't have exams every month. And most importantly, they will be with you and their new family. So what could possibly be better than that? Thank you. Well, that brings us to the end of another episode of the Down Under Visa Philippines to Australia podcast series. Thank you very much for joining us. We hope you enjoyed, and we hope you found this useful. Australian visas from the Philippines are not easy, and the outcome matters, as you well know. Please feel free to contact us anytime if you need some further help. And we look forward to talking to you again next time. Bye-bye.